Hi, Kevin Wright here, back with another property finance video. And this week we're going to be talking about, is it time to quit your day job? Stick around and find out. So this is a question that I get asked quite a lot actually, is I want to go full-time in property, but is now the right time to do it? Now, of course, that's going to be different for everyone. And hey, of course, some people don't want to go full-time in property because they're pretty happy doing the job they are. They might just want to do less of it. In other words, they might not want to stay full-time in it. They might want to drop down to more part-time hours, get a bit of a better work-life balance. But typically, if it's a vocation, shall we say, then people are less likely to just want to quit their day job, but just get some more control over their life, and also probably to use property to secure their future to a greater degree than they currently have. Now, property is far from a one-size-fits-all type of thing. It can be sliced and diced in many different ways, many different strategies, many different ways of deriving a rental income, or actually not deriving a rental income at all, just buying and selling. So there's a multitude of ways to make money out of property, whether you want it to be your full-time occupation or just a side hustle to whatever it is that you're doing now. And I guess the defining factor of that is going to be your degree of satisfaction in the job that you do, the one that pays the bills right now. So the more unfulfilled, the more frustrated, the more undervalued that you feel, then the more likely is you want to swap that for going full-time in property. But not everyone is demotivated about the job that they do. So first of all, it's important to make the distinction. Do you even want to go full-time in property? You'll probably be able to answer that for yourself. Yes, I do, or no, I don't. I'm quite content being part-time. So whether you're part-time or full-time, I think a big motivator is to build a nest egg for retirement. I even see some people with some legacy planning going on there. So their plan is to acquire assets, property assets, that they can pass on to their children or even their grandchildren. Of course, you've probably got a passion for property to a lesser or greater degree, otherwise why would you be doing it? You know, you're in a very small percentage of the UK population because the vast majority of people have got no inclination about using property as an investment vehicle. And when you're starting out in property, then you're going to be working full-time in most cases. And this presents a challenge because you've still got to work to pay the bills, and of course you've still got to sleep to be fit enough to go to work. So where does property fit in? Well, it's difficult to do it while you're working. Some may manage to do that, but it's difficult while you're working for most people. And obviously you can't do it actively when you're asleep unless you set up some automation thingy or whatever. So the third section of our lives is our relaxation time, and our relaxation time is the only real time that we get to devote to property. Now, let's not make any bones about it. It's going to involve sacrifice. So it's going to involve sacrificing what you've been used to doing with your leisure activity time and curtailing that for an indefinite period, and then using some of that curtailed leisure activity time to do whatever it is you need to be doing to build your property business. Now, that is a sacrifice. And I think one of the reasons why so few people are active in property compared to the general population as a whole is because they're not willing to make that sacrifice. You know, their leisure time is too important to be doing other things with. And hey, that's fine, because that leaves plenty of room for the rest of us who do think it's a sacrifice worth making. And it's a finite sacrifice, because when you get to build your business to a certain point, you get back your leisure time, and depending on how successful you are, you probably end up with more leisure time than you had before. So to be successful in property, you've got to be willing to squeeze that leisure time for a defined period. You know, how long it takes you to build enough money from property to expand it back out again by either quitting your day job or concentrating your hours down to a smaller proportion of the week. Hey, have you subscribed yet? Click that subscribe button down there and that dingy belly thing so you don't miss any of my videos when they're released, which is every week. Great, thanks. I almost forgot, Instagram. Click that button too. Look, it's down there. Thanks. For those of you that are on the road to going full-time in property, that have an ambition to quit your day job, when should be doing it? I'll give you some guidance on that from a broker's point of view in terms of what effect on your mortgageability being full-time in property will have. And it's this reason predominantly why you need to plan your exit from the corporate world, if that's where you are right now. So here's the central point, and here's why the timing is very important for you personally. Most mortgage lenders hate full-time landlords. They do. Doesn't fit their avatar whatsoever. The standard buy-to-let mortgage lenders, the ones you would naturally start off getting your first few mortgages through, like you to be employed or self-employed and in a job that is nothing to do with renting property out. Now, okay, you could perhaps be a letting agent, so you've got a business that's aligned to property, but it's not deriving an income from actually renting out properties that you own. And if it's nothing to do with property, well, even better from their point of view. Now, to get the fullest choice of lenders, they like you to be earning over $25,000 a year. And that's a one-step threshold. It's not like a main residence mortgage where the amount you can borrow is linked to your salary, no matter how big that salary is. Just get to the 25,000 threshold and pretty much every buy-to-let lender is going to lend to you if you're employed or self-employed in a business that's nothing to do with property. And of course, one of the biggest things that standard mainstream buy-to-let mortgage lenders want to know is it your money that you're using for the deposit? Because in almost all circumstances, they don't allow you to borrow the deposit. So they get quite detailed in drilling down and finding out, where did your deposit come from? Is it yours? Is it your own? Have you pulled it in from some other savings account? Or have you borrowed it? So being self-employed or employed in nothing to do with property, earning more than $25,000 a year, not having too many properties, using your own deposits, that's the avatar, if you want to use that word, for the standard mainstream buy-to-let lenders. Now take that away and you're in full-time landlord mode. From a lender's point of view, well, not so rosy. Now those same lenders that were happy to lend to you while you had a salary now think you're an infinitely riskier proposition because your tenants might all leave and then you'd have no income and then you couldn't pay their mortgages. Now, if there's a bit of head scratching going on now, saying, well, how likely is it that if I've got a portfolio of properties, all my tenants are going to leave at the same time? I know. But you see, that's the logic that mortgage lenders, underwriters work on. And it's not to be confused with our logic. Now, that doesn't mean to say that full-time landlords can't get mortgages. Clearly not. Otherwise, no one would ever be a full-time landlord, would they? You can get mortgages as full-time landlords, but from different lenders. And to be fair, at not such competitive rates either. So if standard mortgage lenders don't like you as a full-time landlord, who does? Well, commercial lenders for one, specialist lenders for another. So in other words, the people that didn't like you when you first started out in property with no experience, and the only people would lend to you are standard mainstream buy-to-let lenders. Now the whole thing's switched round. You become unattractive to the lenders that used to like you, and you become attractive to the lenders that didn't used to like. So this is why the timing is critical, because you don't want to be unattractive to the mainstream buy-to-let lenders that got you started until you're of a size that you don't really need them so much. Because the more properties you add, perversely, the less they like you as well. Now, real world logic, you would think, well, the more properties I get, the bigger I build my portfolio, the less risk I am, because one vacant property is an ever smaller part of my total rental income, so therefore I must be a better risk. You think that, but buy-to-let lenders don't think that. For reasons best known to them, they think the bigger your portfolio, the more risky you are to lend to. Crazy, I know, but that's how it is. So by naturally growing your portfolio, maybe you have dropped down from a full 5-day week, let's say, to a 4 or a 3-day week. As you're building your portfolio, you're becoming less and less attractive to the lenders that you started off with. So there's that tipping point where you become more attractive to the commercial type of lender, and that's a pretty good time to consider quitting your job, if quitting your job is the way you want to go. And the other key trigger for that is when you're earning as much out of property as you used to earn out of your day job. So when you've replaced your income, that is the other big pivotal moment when you take that decision to actually sack your boss, as the saying goes, hand in your notice and become a full-time landlord. Now, of course, the time to work all this out is before, not after you hand your notice in. Because in most cases, handing your notice in, you're burning your bridges, aren't you? Now, consulting with your broker to work out what rate of mortgages you're likely to get as a full-time landlord would be part of this decision-making process before you hand your notice in. I mean, it's something we do quite a lot with our clients as brokers. We give them an indication of what mortgages are going to look like as a full-time landlord. So the lesson here is don't be in too big a rush to quit the day job. If quitting the day job is what you want to do, be more strategic and plan for when that time's going to come, so it's going to cause you minimum disruption in financing your future purchases. So there we are. That's me for this week. I'll be back next week with another property finance video. See you then. If you enjoyed watching this video, did you know every Monday morning at 8:30 I do a live Facebook Q&A. So if you want to start the week with checking out some answers to your property finance questions, click the link here.